Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. Medical news this morning as the combine continues. The news around a potential number one overall pick, edge rusher Abdul Carter out of Penn State. Multiple reports stating Carter has a stress reaction in his right foot, and he was facing the possibility of surgery after the testing on Wednesday. But doctors reportedly have advised Carter against surgery. He is expected to work out at Penn State's Pro Day March 28th, according to Adam Schefter. He will not be on the field today as workouts begin at Lucas Oil Stadium with defensive linemen and outside linebackers. Another potential number one overall pick met with the media earlier today in Travis Hunter, news has come out that Hunter will not be working out with wide receivers or defensive backs at Lucas Oil Stadium. He will also wait until his respective pro day. The Nashville Predators homestand continues tonight, hosting the Winnipeg Jets, 7 p.m. puck drop at Bridgestone Arena. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by all Four Season Garage Doors. 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation. Got Joseph in here before the show started trying to spread lies, talking about Omar Norman lot measurements like I said something. I didn't remember saying anything about his height.
Well, I don't remember what player it was, but we were talking about a player, whoever it was, a couple weeks ago. We were talking about how he was 6'3", I don't recall.
He had already measured at the Senior Bowl, so I knew that he was going to be 6'1". But I don't know what.
I think some people had listed him as 6'3" before he got his measurement at the Senior Bowl.
In the Tennessee program, most likely. Because,
okay.
Well,
I think that's what we were talking about. Yeah.
I don't write for that crap rag. So.
Right, but what did they have him listed at? What do they have him listed? Do you know?
I will look right now, but I know in those a lot of times they will take their measurements in cleats or add a couple of inches to
I'm telling you, I was
to round up.
I was perturbed when I got measured there at the combine.
What were you before you got measured at the combine?
I've never measured less than 5'10".
Yeah, okay. Because
what do you think they measured me
I stretched
at?
mine at 5'9".
Man,
at the combine or at Ball State?
Yeah, at the combine.
I'm going to say, so you were angry about it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say they had you at 5'7".
Close. 5'8 3/4 or some number. It was low. I don't know. I was like, what?
Okay, so Jackson's got the Tennessee version of which we know that Tennessee fans and stuff and people that work for them, they don't.
Whoa. Wait a minute now.
Oh, look, I got muted.
Wait. All the teams somewhat do this, right, in college?
Yeah, maybe not this much. I mean, this is
They do this in high school. Like, I think in my high school program, I was a good 2 or 3 inches taller than I actually was.
Right, in high school, but once you get to college, they try to get it close to the back. I think Ball State listed me at 5'9".
They have him at 6'3", 315.
See? That's where it came from.
6'3", wow, man. Can't trust those publications over at Tennessee.
And he's 6'1"?
That's what he measured at the combine, 6'1". Yeah. It's in cleats.
Oh.
Or they had, a wrong tape measure, an honest mistake.
A wrong tape measure?
An honest mistake by the wonderful staff at the UT Athletic Department.
Sounds like a little excuse making there.
That's typical. All right, Blaine.
6'1.5", I'm sure they listed me.
We were the first to really talk about this story yesterday. Of course, it broke during our show, so we got the benefit of that. But I call it a beef. Media beef going on right now. Inside, I don't like source off. It's like it's insider beef, an insider rumble or something like that.
Is that what you guys call it?
Yeah, I mean it's a beef. They got beef, and apparently this beef escalated. So when this first got brought to my attention by the guys that do Pardon My Take on Barstool Sports. Mm-hmm. One of them put out like a funny tweet, and I thought he was just making fun of what happened earlier in the day, the PFT commentator. Mm-hmm. And then Pro Football Talk wrote a whole story on the actual incident that happened at Starbucks. And apparently, of course, Starbucks former CEO. The former CEO of Starbucks is Jordan Schultz's dad. He's got that Starbucks money.
I didn't know that. Did you know that before?
I did. I brought it up on the show a few times. Here's the thing. That's how I'm not saying he didn't work hard to get to where he's at, but I've heard accusations of Nepo baby. We got that Starbucks money, that cappuccino money. So we're told that Rappaport was talking to an agent. Schultz approached Rappaport and said, "We need to talk," or specific words to that effect. Maybe it wasn't just those words, but Rappaport replied, "We don't need to talk." Schultz then made accusations about Rappaport. Rappaport, we're told, regards the accusations as unfounded, much like it's unfounded that Tom Brady and Matt Stafford were ever talking football during their happenstance meeting at Montana. The two men were essentially face-to-face. And I love this because I don't know how tall Jordan Schultz is. But I know this. Ian Rappaport is smaller than both of us. So I know that he is short. So if Jordan Schultz is taller than Ian Rappaport, face-to-face seems like we're stretching the truth. Kind of like saying Norman Lott's 6'3". If this happens again, we're going to have an effing problem, Schultz said, or specific words to that effect. Now I'll step back. The incident was then reported to NFL security, so Rappaport went and tattletaled. And they took multiple statements from multiple witnesses. But, it escalated. This is it's hilarious that essentially, I guess maybe Jordan Schultz felt more comfortable because it was like a home field advantage with the Starbucks, it being at Starbucks and all that kind of stuff. But that is wild. This is like high school stuff. And I'll eat it up all day long. I love the drama. I'm very unhappy that nothing new has came out today. I need more information on this.
Oh, no, they're going to let this die real quickly. There's no way.
So I'm going to make sure this is bleeped first, but Ian Rappaport appeared on Pat McAfee's show this afternoon.
Oh, okay. So you figure that out, but it's kind of crazy. So I want to say this. First off, I think we both agree, and we broke this down yesterday, and there's more information as came out regarding Matt Stafford, not specifically with the Raiders, but with other teams. But I think we both agree, Ian Rappaport really should not have tweeted out that his tweet where he's like, he looks naive and stupid, but also Jordan Schultz, come on. You got the last laugh with your second tweet talking about, I can sell you a bridge. At some point, you just got to let the beef die.
I'm still trying to find out his height. He did play basketball.
Who, Jordan Schultz?
Yeah, so I'm assuming that he is a lot taller. I mean, he's at least, 6'2" or something. He's, yeah. It's the same guy. That's what it says here.
Do you know where he played?
It says Seattle University or Occidental College, maybe.
Occidental College?
Yeah, Occidental.
Okay,
yeah.
So he's listed on their site 6 feet.
Oh, 6 feet.
So if he's at least 6 feet, I know that he's got at least 5 inches or 6 inches on Rappaport. Rappaport's small. If you've never met him.
Adam Schefter was 5'5" or something.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen him in person. I've seen Ian Rappaport in person, Andrew Siciliano in person.
Well, most of those guys aren't very tall, but
they are short. When I say you're short, you're short because I am a small boy. I am 5'8", a generous 5'8" probably, but is kind of wild that this whole situation has gone on. But there's more information to talk about because kind of a guy that covers the Giants, a Giants beat writer, went on the Go Long podcast which is Tyler Dune, which I recommend everybody, if you are a Substack person, go look for Substack Go Long. Great. He gives you great insight all throughout the draft process, all kinds of prospects. He has Bob McGinn, who's a longtime NFL executive and scout who also gives his information, everything. But I thought it was really interesting because the Stafford stuff has now taken a step further for the Giants. And what's interesting enough is that everybody is kind of saying, Albert Breer's reporting it now. All these people are now coming out and saying there should be a resolution by the end of this week. Now, whether we are made aware of the resolution or not, but either the Rams are going to end up paying Matt Stafford, or the Rams are going to end up trading Matt Stafford. And they're talking soon because they want to have it done before free agency in a little over 2 weeks away, maybe even under 2 weeks now. But they want to have that all resolved because there's also roster bonuses involved and all this kind of stuff that hit at certain times. So, like, right now, it's looking like I really thought Matt Stafford was going to stay, and there's still a chance. But, man, it's really looking like Matt Stafford's on the move, and that's a huge domino for the Tennessee Titans to fall.
Well, you're the first one to talk about Stafford. I mean, we're talking about weeks ago, maybe, and now it's coming to fruition. What would you do if you're the Rams?
See, that's the thing. I mean, so Diana Rossini talked about it earlier this week that they're fairly comfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo as their starter. Now, I think that's a load of bull. I think that is the Rams telling them that because then, we can get rid of Matt Stafford. Or, Matt Stafford, if you want to go to one of these crappier teams, go ahead. We're fine with Jimmy G. We could use any quarterback. And then you have McVay, at the combine, talk about he's got to have his guy and all that kind of situation. If I'm the Rams, I pay him. I don't think I pay him $50 million.
I think that's what this is about.
But that's what this is about. And I don't think they should technically. Because here's my thing.
I think you should get 40.
Do you want to well, who's your best chance to win a Super Bowl right now if you're Matt Stafford? Maybe it's not about, maybe it's because he's got the Super Bowl ring, Blaine, and he's like, okay, now it's just all about money. That can be true. But I always look at, if I'm a veteran player at his age, I want another one. I want as many Super Bowls as I can. And it feels like to me the Rams are your best shot, not the Raiders, not the Giants. It's the Rams.
Not anywhere else. That's why I think it's more about what they are trying to negotiate, give him an extension. They should give him an extension, probably a 2-year deal, probably around 40, but you got to look around and he's saying, well, hey, this guy here is making 50, this guy's making 52.
And what have we talked about? All that crap is out of whack.
Right. Yeah, and so I think he's sitting there saying, hey, y'all got to ante up. And
we got NFL breaking news. Where's our NFL breaking news?
Uh-oh.
This is surprising. The Chiefs, this comes from Adam Schefter. Chiefs have informed Pro Bowl guard Trey Smith that he will be franchise tagged per source. That is crazy. And I'll get the franchise tag numbers up here right now because right now,
I think it's around 22.
Well, they also just came out today with the salary cap of $279.2 million.
Right, agree with the PA.
As of this right now, the franchise tag is $25.8 million.
Now, that's correlated with all the linemen, not just guards.
So that's why it's so high. Right. So you're correct on that. But that is surprising because really when you start looking at where the Chiefs are in salary cap, they only have $7.9 million in salary cap. So if he were to sign the franchise tag, you know what? We're going to talk about this franchise tag situation. We also got Jordan Dajani coming up. I'll keep you updated on the franchise tag situation when we come back. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Season the Garage Door, 615-737-1045. Trey Smith has been franchise tagged by the Kansas City Chiefs. I wish it was Tennessee Titans. By the Kansas City Chiefs, there's conflicting reports anywhere from 23 to 23.4 according to the insiders. And then 25.8 according to salary cap website overthecap.com. While we'll be joined by Jordan Dajani here in just a moment, but let's go to Tommy real quick and we'll talk about the quarterback situation. Tommy, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Thanks for having me. And we took Dylan Reagans in the second round when our general manager grew up in West Tennessee. Trey Smith was dominant in high school. He was up there at Knoxville. And the Kansas City Chiefs took him in the sixth round. He started every game since and possibly going to be a Hall of Famer. But going to the quarterback, I'm one of the few people that thinks Tannehill could still play if he had a decent offensive line. I'm wondering if you've heard any noise about him. And I'll hang up and listen. Thanks.
Thanks, Tommy. The only noise I've heard is he's enjoying the Bahamas and fishing.
Yeah, snorkeling or something like that, right?
Oh, he's deep sea fishing down there. Deep sea fishing, okay. He may be harpoon fishing, I don't know, but I mean, he's enjoying his time at the Bahamas. That's all I know about Ryan Tannehill. I will caution against this. Once you're out for a year, especially at that age, a comeback seems very, very unlikely. Because once you're not in football shape, you're not in as much football shape as you were. I'm sure he's still working out here and that, but being in football shape and playing football games and missing a whole year. Look at Deshaun Watson. Missed a whole year and has never looked the same since. Le'Veon Bell sat out, in that franchise tag year, never looked the same since. Something about sitting out 1 year, even if you're just not even talking backups, just not in the league, that's really hard to make a comeback from.
Yeah, I would agree with that whole premise, but there are always exceptions to the rule. It depends on how desperate a team is. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And how much, if you bring him in as a backup and then he starts getting into the flow and everything else, then give him some. But if you're trying to bring him right off the street and throw him out there and start, I think that's a recipe for disaster. And, I just don't know if Tannehill, after last year, is really passionate enough to still wants to play. And you got to see Flacco, who's older, who's still playing. He's still trying to compete for whatever reason. And I'm a little surprised that he hasn't. Retired there in Flacco. And he's shown that the reason why he hasn't because he still could play. So
615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation? You also talk to us in the F&M Bank chat on Zone TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live, where Bijan2 says, can we hire J-Rob back and fire him after that caller was talking about drafting Dylan Reagans and passing Trey Smith? That was a terrible draft by J-Rob, and that's why he's no longer employed.
Well, for all fairness, Trey Smith, that's why he dropped his.
He dropped because of his medicals.
He had blood clots, right? Yeah. So that was so the whole league passed up on him, and I get it. We're right here watching him. He's a fabulous player, and obviously the Chiefs felt like they were in a position that they could take a gamble on him, and he's shown out, and he's played well. I'm disappointed that he got franchised, though, man. I just wanted to see where it would go with the Titans, even though I would have been out of the market for that high priced guard. But you never know. Maybe
so now, if you're a team, this discount. To me screams Kansas City's going to try and keep him. And we'll talk more about that. We'll get Jordan Dajani's thoughts because he's on the line. Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports will go around the NFL with him. Jordan, have you been safe, or are you having to look over your shoulder when you go to a Starbucks?
What's going on, my friends? Yeah, I was telling Jackson, I think that's why CBS doesn't send me to the Combine up in Indy, because I'd be accosting reporters publicly in Starbucks. But I think that's obviously the biggest story to come out of the NFL Combine. But now we have to talk about a franchise tag that we didn't exactly anticipate with Trey Smith in Kansas City.
Yeah, it's surprising because the Kansas City Chiefs, according to Over the Cap, currently sit at roughly around $8 million in cap space. And, of course, he's going to count anywhere from $23 to $25 million, wherever the franchise tag designation lies. Now, they have July to try to extend him, but I can't picture a team willing to trade away a draft pick and pay a guard in this league, right? Am I underplaying the importance of guard and of the talent of Trey Smith in that instance?
No, I think you're exactly right. And you put it perfectly when you said, I think this screams that the Chiefs want to keep him in the fold. And I think that was one of the biggest takeaways from the pressers with Brett Veach, was that they want to find a way to get Trey Smith on a long-term contract. And you brought up their cap situation. Obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs don't have the most financial resources this offseason, so it's going to be fascinating to see not only how they try to cut costs to get that number out, or up, I should say, but also where exactly is a new deal going to fall in line for Trey Smith. And a reason, well, there's multiple reasons, but one of the biggest reasons I didn't see the Chiefs actually pulling out the franchise tag is, we actually talked about it on your show a couple weeks ago, is that when it comes to the franchise tag with offensive guards, they also take into consideration the highest paid offensive linemen in general. That has to do with the highest paid offensive tackles on the left and right side. So the franchise tag number is $23.4 million. That automatically makes Trey Smith, if he signs it, the highest paid offensive guard in the NFL in terms of AAV. The number 2 right now is Landon Dickerson with the Philadelphia Eagles at $21 million. So where exactly is the middle ground for the AAV of this new contract that is sure to reset the market? Now, I saw Mike Garafolo of NFL Media put this on social media, saying that a long-term deal could nudge that number even higher. I'd like to push back on that. I think that there's a way to find some middle ground between $21 million and $23.4 million. If the Chiefs get a long-term deal, I'm imagining it would be around $22.5.
Well, I mean, it's already, at this point, life-changing money for Trey Smith, who was a 6th-round pick. This is his first big-time chance at a contract. So I'm kind of with you. I feel like the franchise tag is the ceiling, but there is a chance to maybe find that middle ground as well. You know, speaking of contracts, trades, and all this kind of stuff, Matt Stafford is a hot, commodity this week. We hear reports of that the Giants are courting him, the Raiders are courting him really hard. He's going skiing with Tom Brady. Because they just so happen to meet at a Minnesota or a Montana resort. But where do you? A couple weeks ago, we were all in agreement that it's kind of like, okay, well, surely he's going to go back to the Rams, and this is all just a chance for him to get more money. But it kind of sounds like maybe the Rams are holding his feet to the fire in the contract negotiations. Where do you think Matt Stafford lands, and will it be resolved at some point shortly during or after the Combine?
Yeah, I'll answer your second question first. I figured out that Matthew Stafford has a roster bonus of somewhere, I think, like $5 million coming up in a couple weeks. So that leads me to believe that a resolution is coming down the line, whether that's him re-signing with the Los Angeles Rams or being traded to the Las Vegas Raiders or New York Giants, whoever it may be. Now, my position on this entire fiasco has actually not really changed. I do believe he's going to be back in L.A., but as I mentioned with you guys, I can't say that with 100% certainty. And there's 2 facets to a potential deal. It comes down to the contract for Matthew Stafford. The number $50 million a year has been thrown around a lot. I think that would make some sense. But also, let's say the Raiders, who I think rank number 2 in available funds to spend, even if they can reach a deal on what a contract would look like for Matthew Stafford, then they have to go to the Los Angeles Rams and give them adequate draft compensation to facilitate a trade. And what exactly would the Rams be looking for? Because we know the Rams are not motivated to move on from Matthew Stafford. So those are 2 important facets when it comes to a potential deal getting done. And that's ultimately why I think Matthew Stafford returns to LA. But again, it's going to continue to be a situation we're watching.
This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons. We got Jordan Dajani on of CBS Sports, and we're going around the NFL with him.
Well, Jordan, there's a lot of rumor reels going around, as you mentioned, but man, these 2 here are kind of interesting. I'd love to get your thoughts on Gronkowski returning to the NFL. Is this true? And as well as, have we seen the beginning and the end of Christian McCaffrey with all his injuries?
Man, Rob Gronkowski, I would love for it to be true. I'd love to see 35, 36-year-old Rob Gronkowski returning to the NFL, but it seems like we have on pretty good authority that he is not going to be returning to the NFL. He's going to continue broadcasting with Fox. I don't think he's focused on making a return to the field. Now, Christian McCaffrey, I think that's a really interesting scenario because the injuries he was dealing with last year. What was it, like the bilateral arthritic Achilles or something like that held him out for so long? Yeah. That is a significant injury when it comes to a running back, especially when we're talking about a talent of Christian McCaffrey's ilk. I don't think that it's going to force him into retirement this offseason. I didn't really consider that until you asked me that just now. I think that Christian McCaffrey is an incredibly motivated guy. And I remember interviewing him a couple of years ago when he was forced to miss so much time due to injury with the Carolina Panthers, and he hated talking about that. Like, he doesn't want his legacy to be about a running back that missed so much time and being as talented as he is. So I have a hard time imagining that Christian McCaffrey would allow this kind of issue to force him to hang up the cleats, but you never know, I guess.
Just real quick on that Gronk thing. So me and Blaine yesterday were talking through this whole why would the Raiders and Matt Stafford and this whole situation ever even work. And I said that Matt Stafford, I think Tom Brady with John Spytek, who's a Tampa Bay Buccaneers assistant general manager, and now Raiders general manager, and Pete Carroll being 73, I think they're trying to duplicate what Tom Brady and the Buccaneers tried to duplicate. They're going to try to get a high-end Super Bowl winning quarterback. They're going to build around him, and they're going to bring back Rob Gronkowski. And I think that's why the rumors leaked. They leaked early because Rob Gronkowski's only coming back if they get Matt Stafford. What do you think?
Oh, what I'm hearing is that he's going to go to the Denver Broncos.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Gronkowski.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's replicate the Buccaneers. Let's bring Antonio Brown back while we're at it to bring him back to Vegas. Hey, yeah. But it's kind of interesting because, with the way the Raiders have been operating this offseason, I almost viewed their offseason moves as trying to stabilize the franchise as opposed to shooting for the stars. But if you add someone like Matthew Stafford, and again, whether this quarterback goes back to the Rams or to the Raiders, we know that he only has a couple of good years. Maybe it's just one good year of football left. So if you have Matthew Stafford as your quarterback, you're shooting for the stars in that instance.
Well, let's stay with the quarterback and yours truly, the Steelers. What are they doing? Why aren't they at the forefront of even Matthew Stafford? It seems like they have no interest in anybody. I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, I would have loved to see Matthew Stafford in the Steel City. I thought that he would have really elevated that team.
Perfect.
It's looking for stability at that position. You've got George Pickens. I'm sure they'll add another talented wide receiver this offseason. Najee Harris is kind of a free agent, but you also have a really good defense as well. So Pittsburgh keeps making the playoffs, but they haven't won a playoff game since Nam, it feels like. But with the Steelers, they've actually kind of showed their hand on what they're doing at the quarterback position. And this was one of the biggest surprises to me from the NFL Combine, to be honest with you. Their GM came out and said, we are looking to re-sign either Russell Wilson or Justin Fields before the start of free agency, and will be solidified at the quarterback position. That was fascinating to me because it looks like Pittsburgh isn't going to take their available funds to free agency and be in the market for someone like Sam Darnold. They want to run it back with one of the quarterbacks that started for them last season. And I thought it was very interesting that they showed their hand like that. So ultimately, if you're asking me what I think happens, I've been pretty consistent in saying this. I think Justin Fields is going to re-sign with Pittsburgh.
Well, will Brock Purdy get a big deal, or will he stay in the modest range, and modest for quarterbacks is, between 30 and 40, or will he go beyond that?
Yeah, he's going to go beyond that. But people are talking about Brock Purdy. Will he reset the market? Like, will he get paid more than Dak Prescott, over $60 million a year? Straight up, Blaine, I do not see that happening. I would be absolutely floored if Brock Purdy reset the entire quarterback market. I think Brock Purdy is a good quarterback, just like I think Tua Tagovailoa is a good quarterback. But I'm not paying that guy over $60 million a year. And I would take Brock Purdy into my office and say, look, I've got a Lamborghini of an offense, but you're just the steering wheel. There's a lot of different components to this car that we're flashing out and making NFC championship games. And we need available funds if we're going to reach our ceiling. I don't think that Brock Purdy can carry the 49ers to the promised land just by himself. And that's something that John Lynch in San Francisco is really going to have to take into consideration when it comes to constructing this extension. So I think that somewhere around $50 million, $53 million, 55 is where that threshold is with Joe Burrow, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, and Tua Tagovailoa falls under them at 53.1. If you remember, when Tua Tagovailoa signed his extension, he didn't reset the market like many people were anticipating. So I see something similar happening with Brock Purdy, where he breaks into that top 5. But again, it would be wild to me if he's up in Dak Prescott territory.
There you have it. Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports.
Jordan, it's sticking with San Francisco. I guess this kind of turned into a San Francisco-themed Q&A session here. But I'm a little confused because I've seen reports lately that Brandon Ayuk may be on the trade block.
Oh.
They had a prime opportunity to trade him last offseason with so many teams inquiring and wanting him, and instead they gave him an extension. Now he's 1 year into the extension, and they're going to trade him? Like, does that make sense to you? Like, that to me, like, I always thought that Brandon Ayuk was the better wide receiver than Deebo Samuel. And I thought that if you go and read up on what their offense does and how it flows through Kyle Juszczyk in the run game, but specifically Kyle Juszczyk, and it flows through Brandon Ayuk. So I don't understand why they would get rid of Brandon Ayuk. Do they have that much faith in Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing, the two rookie receivers they drafted last year?
And did he get injured?
Yeah.
Yes. Hey, you're forgetting Jawan Jennings.
And Jawan Jennings.
Third and Jawan Jennings, a legend. No, but with Brandon Ayuk, man, if he's actually on the trade block, that's absolutely wild to me because he's someone who signed that big-time extension, then suffered a season-ending injury, and now you want to trade off those damaged goods for a price that you could have gotten much more improved last year if you came to that conclusion to ship him off to somewhere like Pittsburgh. So I don't think that's going to end up happening. That's a really interesting rumor. Deebo Samuel is the wide receiver who I would imagine is on the move. But I'll tell you this. If I was in charge of the 49ers, and I said this last year, in fact, if I really wanted to keep Brandon Ayuk in the fold, that's completely fine. I would have been totally cool sending him to Pittsburgh for a first-round pick. But if I'm keeping Brandon Ayuk in the fold, that is when I'm selling Deebo Samuel. Because at this point in the 2024 offseason, entering 2025, Deebo Samuel's stock is as low as it's ever been as well. He's been given permission to seek a trade. It sounds like John Lynch is considering it as well. But what are you going to get in return for him at this stage in his career on the contract he's on right now? I thought Deebo Samuel should have been the wide receiver on the move last offseason.
Yeah, it seems that they are a victim of their own bad timing. I mean, they just haven't been able to get it right. I think the Super Bowl losses weigh heavily on Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. But like some of these moves that they're making or rumored to be trying to make just are just leave me just shocked, I guess, because I could not imagine trying to trade Brandon Ayuk right now. But another team that has got me flabbergasted, to say the least, is the New Orleans Saints and Mickey Loomis. And I said yesterday, I think I could be a better GM than Mickey Loomis right now. Now, I'm not trying to discount what he did, back in, when he won the Super Bowl and stuff, but he has just left this team in a mess, and they're going to keep trying to run it back and compete with Derek Carr instead of trying to blow this whole thing up. I mean, they think that they are going to be able to compete, and they are going to approach free agency accordingly in that manner. Are they just lying to us? Is this lying season?
I think it is lying season, but, I wish I was a capologist so I could eloquently pontificate on the ins and outs of what these dead cap hits would be for Derek Carr and what's the best course of action. But you're right. After some uncertainty with Kellen Moore's introductory press conference, I'm sure you watched that, he was not marrying himself to Derek Carr, but the GM takes the podium at the NFL Combine and says, we're excited to run it back with Derek Carr. And my question is, I don't know if they exactly have a choice, right? He has a $51.4 million cap hit. ESPN reports that they could free up around $31 million or so with a restructure, but still, that's kicking the can down the road. He will have a monstrous cap hit next year as well. And this is from SpotTrack. Derek Carr has been paid $60 million by the Saints over the past 2 seasons, but only accounted for 19.8 against the cap. And this is from the Associated Press. When Derek Carr gets his $10 million roster bonus next month, he will be the only player in NFL history to get paid more than $200 million and never be part of a playoff win. So the Saints have been a victim of how they're restructuring these contracts, structuring them with these late cap hits further in the contract. It was a controversial decision decision in itself to pick up Derek Carr from the Raiders and give him the contract that they gave him. So I really do wonder, what is the best course of action? Is it to part ways with him with a post-June 1 designation, trade him with the post-June 1 designation, and take on a bunch of that money? The Saints are really stuck.
A few years ago, Mike Vrabel said he would cut off his member for a Super Bowl. Ben Johnson says he would pawn his family jewels for 10 Bears Super Bowls. So my question to you is, what do you think that Andy Reid has sold to win all the Super Bowls that he's won?
First of all, I'm extremely proud of that headline. That is the best headline I've ever come up in my journalistic career, pawning your family jewels. I have no idea what Andy Reid gave up, and I don't want to speculate on FCC radio. Who knows? But here's one thing I do want to bring up. I think that Ben Johnson has been a massive winner of the NFL Combine. This has been really the first opportunity for Bears fans to get an extended look at Ben Johnson, because he kind of has this reputation almost, and is it fair or unfair, that remains to be seen, of being this mad scientist that's holed up in his office coming up with incredible trick plays, and he's not your typical rah guy like Dan Campbell was. Well, I think he's showing you some of his personality in all these interviews he's doing with that, pardon my take, the family jewels one, of course, but he also has some really good quotes speaking to us over at CBS Sports, talking about how I'm changing how I operate now that I'm a lead man. My job is to take all the philosophies I had when I was trying to construct the best offense in the NFL to now constructing the best team in the NFL. So I've really enjoyed listening to what Ben Johnson's had to say. And listen, if you're a Bears fan, I think you should be very optimistic about the future.
All right. That was Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports. We went around the NFL with him. We did it a day early because, we wanted to make sure you had you on. You were unavailable Friday, but we'll see you next Friday, Jordan.
You guys are the best. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
All right. When we come back, we'll talk about this new rumor that is floating around that a new team has entered the fray for the number 1 overall pick. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation? Of course, we had Jordan Dajani on. If you missed that interview, had a lot of good tidbits about what's going around the NFL with the quarterback situations and multiple teams. You can hear that wherever you get your Zone podcasts, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get them. We're there. Blaine, a new team has entered the fray, supposedly. And I was
number one pick.
For the number one overall pick to possibly be trading up. And I'm just going to let Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk tell you what he is hearing about a new team entering in the conversation.
I did hear yesterday, and you hear all sorts of stuff, and I don't like the traffic and stuff I've heard because I don't know how accurate it is, but I did have somebody tell me that the Cowboys have talked to the Titans about moving up to number 1. Now, I think a lot of teams talk about moving around, and I don't know if you guys have heard that. But, yeah, that's a jump, and I don't know what you would have to put into that or whether you'd have to put Micah Parsons into that package if it would go that way. But teams talk all the time. Like, I never get too moved by team talk. They talk all the time. When the report came out a couple of weeks ago that the Steelers called the Jaguars about Trevor Lawrence, I thought, well, yeah, they're looking for a starting quarterback. They're calling around to just see what the market will be. General managers talk to other general managers all the time, and you get, maybe you're thinking about moving to 5, so you want to see what it's going to take to get to number 1, so you can say to the team that's got number 5, this is what number 1 wants. So there's always different explanations for why a team would even do it, assuming it happened. But I did hear, haven't reported, haven't verified that there was a conversation.
Was a name attached to who they would go to 1 for?
No.
So obviously, take it with a grain of salt because it is the combine, and I'm sure a lot of people in that top 15, maybe even outside the top 15, as the Cowboys hold the 12th overall pick, have called the Tennessee Titans wondering what it would take and everything. But I do think it was interesting because I heard earlier in the week that Dak Prescott was at the combine walking around the hallways and all this kind of stuff. And I know that some players may show up for the combine, but typically current players show up if there's negotiations going on and all that kind of stuff. So I wondered if it's maybe not Micah Parsons, but maybe it's Dak Prescott, and maybe because they want Shedeur Sanders. Just a little theory I wanted to throw out there, not saying anything other than that. And by the way, the Tennessee Titans should not be interested in trading the number 1 overall pick for Dak Prescott in that contract, by the way. I'd be totally out on that. But I do think that there is a scenario where I'm not truly surprised that maybe the Cowboys have kind of poked around at what that number 1 pick would cost.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, all the teams, if they're interested in moving up to get a certain player, I'm sure they've given the Titans a call. But yeah, I'm out on the Dak Prescott. Yeah, we talking about Micah Parsons now. Now I'm all in on, okay, what can we put with him
well, that's
to get the
thing.
first pick?
So,
I would definitely consider some of those things around him.
Because he's extension. So right now, I think his cap hit is like $24 million for the Cowboys. It's because it's the 5th-year option. So you get that, and then you work a contract extension off of that. You're getting a player in his prime that's only missed 4 games, I believe, in the NFL since he's been in. Missed 0 games in college, by the way. So, I mean, a guy that's relatively healthy, a guy that is a producer, and really, because what I kind of did, Blaine, was treat Micah Parsons like he was the first-round pick, like the value. So he was worth the same as the Cowboys' first-round pick. And for the Tennessee Titans to do this trade, they would theoretically get Micah Parsons, the 12th overall pick, their 2nd this year, and their 3rd next year, their 3rd this year. So technically you're getting 2 first-round picks because Micah Parsons counts as that. You can move back to 12 and you pick up a 2nd and a 3rd. So you get a 2nd and a 3rd, top 12 pick, and Micah Parsons. I'm all in.
Yeah, me too.
That benefits the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, no doubt.
And you don't have to break your cap or anything to get a player like that. Whereas you're talking about over $44 million a year per year, not only in cap hit and cash for the last 3 years of Dak Prescott's contract. And those contract has guarantees that transfer with it in a trade that trigger those fully guaranteed salaries almost every year. I would just be out on Dak Prescott. Now, do I think Dak Prescott's a good quarterback? I do.
Oh, yeah.
But do I think that Dak Prescott's worth all that? Unless they're going to really give us a lot of draft picks, but I don't see that happening. To take on Dak Prescott's contract, I'd be out on that.
Yeah, there's nothing about Dak Prescott. And look, he's a good, solid player, but not for the money that they gave him. And I thought Jerry Jones just dropped the ball on that a couple times. So, yeah, unfortunately, he's not my cup of tea. Yeah, no. If Parsons the only guy they could talk about with some other picks. Other than that, I'd be like, okay, dial tone. That's it. It's just we're not going
right there. Because I mean, at pick 12, you still can get a really quality player. I mean, what if it's a Tyler Warren, right? A game changing tight end. I know people are kind of crazy, think that's crazy sometimes. I remember all the Brock Bowers discourse last year. I was like, Brock Bowers? I had no worries about Brock Bowers in the next level. Brock Bowers had, to me. Everybody thought Kyle Pitts was a generational tight end. When everybody called Kyle Pitts a generational tight end, I was like, he can't be the generational tight end because Brock Bowers played in the same conference as him, and Brock Bowers is better. So, like, I've been a Brock Bowers guy. I would like Tyler Warren in a trade back, but you also get a second, and another third in this draft, in this theoretic scenario. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm in. And you get a premier edge rusher, like, no-brainer.
Yeah, that one there, man. If we get all of that, man, I'll be jumping for joy.
Yeah.
I'll be elated. And then, you hence then have to give Parsons some form of an extension. But, man, you get your draft picks and maybe a couple other modest signings in free agents at different positions. And then, man, I think you could say, okay, now let's put them on the field and see how we look and see once we get all these pieces together, can we compete competitively week in and week out and be in every game and win some games? Now you're getting blue chip type players. Next thing you go from having maybe one or two guys, blue chips, and now all of a sudden you got 5 or 6, and then now, then the sky's the limit.
All right, when we come back, we'll move away from this hypothetical and move into some more concrete reporting surrounding the trade for the number 1 overall pick. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
Good afternoon. It is 2 o'clock from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. In NFL news, Adam Schefter is reporting that the Chiefs have informed Pro Bowl guard Trey Smith that they will be placing the franchise tag on him. The Tennessee product was drafted in the 6th round by the Chiefs in 2021 and has made 1 Pro Bowl and won 2 Super Bowls in his career in Kansas City. The NFL and the NFLPA has announced that the salary cap will be set at $279.2 million for 2025, a jump of around $24 million from the 2024 cap of $255.4 million. The NFL Combine workouts begin momentarily, and you can catch former Vols James Pierce Jr., Omar Norman Lott, and Elijah Simmons as their workouts begin here in a few minutes. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 of Blaine Bishop and Zach Glines here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation? Cowboys calling on the number 1 pick, allegedly. It is line season after all. But they hold 12th overall pick. Micah Parsons' name kind of got thrown out there. Of course, he's due for an extension, and maybe that's why his name got thrown in there. But what was interesting, so I was talking about earlier, GoLongTD.com, Ty Dune, who has covered covered the NFL for a long time, and he works also with Bob McGinn, a former scout and executive in the league, and they have a Substack, GoLongTD.com, and I'm a subscriber. So I got an email during our show yesterday at the tail end that there was a new podcast out. I was like, oh, great. And it talked about the Giants and Matt Stafford with an Giants reporter that covers the team for a long time. His name's Art Stapleton. Art Stapleton writes for North Jersey and USA Today. And he was on the podcast, and he said this, and he put it in a tweet also, but you can hear the whole thing, because they spend a lot of time talking about trade-up scenarios, prospects, all this stuff. He goes, here are 2 scenarios of which I'm pretty certain. The Giants will make a strong push that is ongoing to trade for Matt Stafford. If the Giants don't get Stafford, I believe prior to the April 24th NFL draft, they will trade up to number 1 with the Titans for their quarterback. Obviously for their, as in the New York Giants, trading up for a quarterback. Vincent Bonsignore, Vinny, and I know I'm not pronouncing that right, but Vinny Bonsignore, I don't know. But he covers the Raiders. So much talk here in Indianapolis about Matthew Stafford and the Raiders. Per a league source, it's picking up steam. And then also Benjamin Albright, which many fans will know from his talk about the Tennessee Titans when there was Tannehill versus Marcus in 2019. He said, would not be surprised to see a trade in the top 5 of this draft to get to number 1. A large trade. A giant one.
Ooh, giant?
Titanic, if you will. So Giant and Titans. So there's a lot of smoke. Now we have 2 different reporters.
I love it.
Talking about, trading up to number 1. The Raiders signing Matt Stafford. This is not as much of a hypothetical as the Dallas Cowboys situation is. This is a real situation to monitor, and we know that stuff picks up in the combine. So really, Matt Stafford could change everything for the Tennessee Titans, and we knew that it was going to be a domino, but now it's going to have a massive ripple effect possibly for this team. They still have yet to meet Cam Ward, obviously, the New York Giants and Tennessee Titans, but this will be a huge situation to monitor with Matt Stafford, even more so than it previously was.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see if there's going to be a third team, and I am completely baffled by the Pittsburgh Steelers here in this whole situation. Maybe they're laying in the wings back here saying, nah, we're just going to wait and play our
Maybe they get Justin Fields and then they call for a trade up.
Ooh,
you get what I'm saying? Yeah, 1 year, 2 year deal for Justin Fields while you trade up and, have a guy that buys you time.
Yeah, maybe. But, yeah, man, this would be exciting news if the the Giants straight up for the Titans. I mean, and they get a boatload there, man. I'd be elated. But
it's we said, that's the ideal scenario, right? Listen, even if
unless they love Cam, we don't know nothing about it.
Right. Yeah, if they love Cam, that's a little bit different. I look at it like this. The Giants, obviously, if there's this much steam already about the Giants wanting to trade up, well, if you're Cleveland, what are you thinking? Well, are you waiting for Matt Stafford and then maybe you call? There could be a little bidding war because if you like Cam Ward and you think the Giants like Cam Ward, if you like Shadur Sanders and you think the Giants like Shadur Sanders, you don't want them jumping ahead of you, more than likely, unless you're comfortable equally with both quarterback prospects. But we've been talking about we need to drum up interest. It looks like Matt Stafford and the Raiders are doing it for us.
No, with him and Tom Brady, right?
Yeah, Tom Brady. Thank you, Tom Brady.
At the resort, man. They're hanging out at the
Thank you, the state of Montana.
Hey, man, whatever it takes. I'm ready for some moves to happen. I'm hoping sooner than later. When do you think they have to make moves here? Like after the combine?
Yeah.
Or?
So from what I've heard is that Albert Breer expects this Stafford thing to resolve itself soon. Mm-hmm. So once that domino falls, now if he stays with the Rams, that kind of changes the whole dynamic of everything we're talking about. I mean, obviously, if he stays with the Rams, that still means the Giants will likely want to trade up because they don't have a quarterback option. They're obviously, based on this reporting, not interested in Sam Darnold, but that would mean that Sam Darnold would likely go to the Raiders in that scenario. So what I'm saying is that, that it's a different dominoes have to fall because what if the Raiders get that, the Giants trade up, you land Sam Darnold, right? And there's that possible scenario where you can then draft Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, likely at 3. So there's a lot of scenarios floating around. But I probably have lost your original question, actually.
No, I mean, just when is that decision going to be made?
Oh, yeah,
you think in the next couple of weeks?
I think, 4 days after the combine was the Panthers-Bears trade for the number 1 overall pick. The Colts and the Jets trade for the number 1 overall pick. Is that right? No, that doesn't sound right. But the Colts traded, there was a number 1 overall pick trade involved there, and that was 12 days after the draft. The Rams and Titans trade was closer in April. So there was a long time there for that, according to when I Googled the other day. So I kind of look at it and I go, I would think that once Stafford happens, I feel like everything else starts moving quickly as far as the trade discussions. Because if you already know and the reports are already out there that the Giants are very interested in trading up if they don't get Stafford. If you're another team, you're thinking, well, I better be, now that we know that's what Stafford's doing, now we got to go do this. We got to get in on this if we want to trade up. You get what I'm saying?
Speaking of Stafford, then, what would the Raiders have to give up, you think, as far as collateral for them? Because they're in a tough situation, too. Being that, they didn't have a successful season, but they have a veteran coaching staff. So it seems to me like they want to win here immediately, and they think they can put the piece together. And they always have to start with the quarterback.
I figured they'll pick swap, right, with the Los Angeles Chargers. I think that would be in the discussion. So because you're going to be taking money, with the Rams, you're going to be taking money. So you'd be moving from 6 to 26.
Oh.
Okay, if you're the Raiders. But if you're the Rams, you move up to 6. And then you get both of their third-round picks, the 68th and the 73rd third-round picks, and maybe you get a 6 or maybe you get something in a future pick as well. But I think because you're the team that's acquiring Matt Stafford has to take on so much money. Now, if the Giants are truly interested, maybe they're hitting each other up, bumping each other up, right? The Raiders make an offer, the Giants make a higher offer.
Maybe the Rams pay some portion of the salary.
Yeah. No? Well, I don't think they'll have to at this point.
Okay.
Because, at this point, if you got two teams heavily interested, the Raiders and the Giants, they're fighting each other. Okay. That's who's negotiating with each other. You're just sitting back if you're the Rams trying to collect whatever you can collect.
All right, give us your guess on what you think is going to happen with Matthew Stafford.
I think he's going to be a Las Vegas Raider. I'm convinced. Listen, I am convinced after our discussion yesterday that with Pete Carroll, we didn't even bring up that John Spytek is the general manager, who also helped get Tom Brady to Tampa Bay, who helped get Tampa Bay to a Super Bowl and playoff contending roster. And he's credited with that a lot. He's a GM of the Raiders, too. They have the third least amount of cash allocated to their current roster, the second most cap space. So they have the money, they have the space to take on Matt Stafford and get other things and sacrifice some youth, some future for some instant gratification. We know that the Davis family and Mark Davis has carried on where his father's left. They love that instant gratification, and they want desperately to be relevant again in the NFL.
Well, it's good for the NFL for the Raiders to always be relevant, man. Just the uniforms in itself, man. The Raiders and then their fan bases are so.
I am convinced he's going to be a Raider because I don't know where the Giants can cut this all off.
So then
they still benefit from.
So then who do the Giants go after?
They go after the number 1 overall pick.
Oh, that's their trade up.
I'm convinced right now that the Titans are not picking number 1 in a number 1 overall by the time the draft rolls around.
You think Sam Darnold's going to be where?
Ooh, that's tough. I really don't know because, again, you talked about the Steelers, right? And how many times have we talked about Sam Darnold in the Steelers? So I'm not sure at this point if I'm as confident like where Sam Darnold lands. But if you're the Minnesota Vikings and you're looking at all this, and you know that nobody's really interested in trading for Sam Darnold, are you going to franchise tag him? So I think he's hitting free agency, like I've always said. I think the Steelers make a smart landing spot for him, and I think that the Tennessee Titans are the other smart landing spot for him. And caveat, money, involved. But like that's kind of where I feel like it's all kind of headed because he's obviously not going to go to the Jets because that leaves the Jets, the Browns, and the Giants when Stafford is gone in the Sam Darnold race. Giants have taken themselves out of it. The Browns can't really afford it. Theoretically, the Giants have. And the Jets, he ain't going back to the Jets. Right. And then that leaves the Steelers and the Titans. I don't know. Just kind of is all falling in place. Remember where I said a couple of years ago, or a couple weeks ago, hey, you sign Sam Darnold, you draft Travis Hunter, you put Travis Hunter at wide receiver, and you have him and Calvin Ridley, and you got picks in a trade back. I don't know. Sounds like a pretty good team. A start of a pretty good team.
I hope that happens. I'll be, man, I'll giddy in here, man. Even Jackson will be excited.
Yeah. Will you be excited about that? Get Travis Hunter and Sam Darnold on the same team and whatever else comes from the draft and a trade back.
I can't get excited for Sam Darnold. I'm sorry.
Oh, what a hater.
I think he played good football in 2024. I don't think, even with Travis Hunter and Calvin Ridley here, he would not be put in the position for success he was put in 2024. I've been out on Sam Darnold since the beginning.
I mean, okay, so I think that people really unnecessarily hate Sam Darnold. Now, listen, I'm not saying that Sam Darnold's an elite quarterback or anything like that. But I do think that people are unnecessarily hateful or spiteful towards Sam Darnold. Because I feel like this. I feel like what Jackson is saying is the general sentiment, and we see it in our chat all the time. We hear it on phone calls on the show that people just don't. Maybe it's not that they don't like Sam Darnold; they just don't trust Sam Darnold. Well, I trust Sam Darnold a hell of a lot more than really any of the other options.
Oh, the Titans have,
yeah, Titans have available to them. Now, do I think? And because this is of course caveat is a trade back. If you're staying at 1 and you love Cam Ward and you love Shadur Sanders, you don't sign Sam Darnold. You get what I'm saying? If they're in on Sam Darnold, they're secretly telling you what they think about at least this quarterback class at this moment.
Yeah, I would like Sam Darnold just for the bright price, as long as he's not, tagged or anything else.
No $50 million, no trade
we
for
can't go down
him.
that route. But I think he's worth, man, it is so interesting to see his career where he hasn't had a lot of success until he's around teams that have good pieces in place, and all of a sudden he skyrockets, whether it was the 49ers in a temporary stop and then the Vikings last year, which was phenomenal until you got to the end of the season, the playoffs. So I just I would hesitate on thinking I'm going to give him some kind of $50 million break the bank type that I definitely would.
Well, I'm going to tell you why I don't think that that's going to have to be the case regardless when we come back. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
Hey, folks, I've been talking about Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance for years because they're the leading experts in sports medicine and performance and the team physician for the NFL, college, and high school athletics across Tennessee. And TOA provides sports medicine coverage to more high school and college sports teams than any orthopedic group in the state of Tennessee. They have 29 locations throughout the state and over 100 physicians throughout Middle and East Tennessee to take care of all your musculoskeletal needs. And TOA has 11 urgent care locations with walk-in availability 7 days a week. They also offer direct access to sports medicine and performance, physical therapy and nutrition, personalized rehabilitation plans to enhance mobility, reduce pain, and improve overall physical function for patients recovering from injuries or surgeries. And TOA also offers sports performance training, a specialized program designed to enhance athletic performance and provide tailored training solutions for athletes at all levels. So please check out their services at TOA.com. Yes, that's TOA.com.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here at 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045 if you want to get in on the conversation. Jackson, we promised to people last week, and I kind of forgot, but I put it in our rundown. Titans Trivia Thursday. Is that still available to do?
We can give something away. Let me look and see what we got.
Okay, you look and see what we got, and then you interrupt me if you find something. So while he looks in the prize bucket back there, we have a Titans ticket trivia Thursday. Okay. Titans ticket. Titans Trivia Thursday. Easy for me to say.
Well, this is good trivia. If Jackson can beat any of these big guys that's running here, we got the O lineman. We want to see if there's any time that you possibly think that you could run.
Okay, well, do you think you could run a 5.17 or faster 40-yard dash?
That guy just did that. He was like 300-some pounds from Maryland.
No. Like, look at that split. He's over 300 pounds from Toledo. He was 4.96.
He said, bananas, give me that. Give me
Darius
that.
Alexander was awesome at the Senior Bowl,
Toledo,
by the way.
the MAC representing. Yes.
Good Lord.
He was stroking. Look at that there, man.
Gosh.
I'm telling you, it is impressive to see these big guys roll. I'm like, wow.
All right. So we got something to give away.
Yes.
Okay.
Athletes Unlimited Pro Basketball. You can win 2 tickets to see this weekend's games at Nashville's Municipal Auditorium. If you answer Zach's trivia question, you got to call 615-737-1045.
Okay, so this is a reward for those that listen to us every day.
Oh.
A couple of days ago, on Monday, on Tuesday, I talked about your broad jump. Not the vertical, but the broad jump.
I don't even remember myself.
Call in with either in inches or feet with what the broad jump was, and you'll get the prize.
Well, I can tell you what I guessed, which was wrong, which was too far, giving them a hint. I guessed 10.8. And it was a little less than that.
So 615-737-1045, and you'll get tickets as Titans Trivia Thursday. But Darius Alexander, woo boy, that was awesome. I was so happy on that. Because that's a guy that I really like, and I understand that, I mean, obviously, when you're talking about, the Tennessee Titans needed another defensive lineman, this is not going to be on your radar. But Darius Alexander is 305 pounds.
Yeah.
And he just ran 4.96
D-line, right?
Unofficially, D-line.
Yeah,
this is all the D-line.
He tore it up while you was down there. Can you give us a little scouting report while you down there?
Yeah, so, I mean, he's a little undersized as far
That's why he's in
as
the MAC. Mm-hmm.
When you're kind of looking at he's just right there on the borderline of what you're looking for from a defensive lineman. So I had to tell Jackson the actual answers so he can reward whoever got it. But
oh no,
I really liked what he was. Now this guy right here, Yaha Black, is 336 pounds. So he's a hefty boy.
He looked totally different running than everybody else. I think Jackson and Bananas could have got him.
But I tell you who really loves Darius Alexander as well is Stoney Keeley. And we'll have Stoney Keeley on tomorrow at 1:20 p.m. So you'll be able to ask him a little bit more. But I love something about these Toledo defenders since Quinyon Mitchell last year. They have looked really good at the Senior Bowl, and they test out really well too. But like Darius Alexander, he should be a freak show. He's right now, he's a little small. His height, he's under 6'4". But he's got good weight, 305 pounds.
He's a little small. He's under 6'4".
Yeah, well, for a defensive lineman, some of those guys are really big.
Okay. Well, how tall is Big Jeff? I mean, he's taller than Big Jeff. They play the same position, right? D tackle.
Jeffrey Simmons, if I can
find
it on here.
It's like 6'3", right?
Surely I have it on this list.
Oh man, these guys. I mean, they're all big human beings, but it's for...
Oh, Jeffrey Simmons, I forgot. He didn't test at the combine.
Oh.
But hold on real quick.
But I mean...
He's over 6'4". So...
Is he?
Yeah, just a little bit. Not much. Oh. Just a little bit.
Oh, I don't feel like...
But like, that Darius Alexander, he's awesome. He's fun. Oh, am I answering all these guesses? You just... Okay. We're gonna go with these guesses one by one. Let's go with David first. David, you're on with Blaine and Zach. What do you think was the broad jump of Blaine Bishop
at the combine?
Man, OG, he did 10 flat, man. It was 10 even.
You got it right off the bat. First guy got it. That was too easy. Too easy. So, David, stay on the line. Jackson will get your information. You got those tickets, but that was too easy, I guess.
Oh, man.
Sorry to Jeff, Matt, Bobby, and TJ who are all ready for a guest. If you guys want to stay on and ask us a question, you're more than welcome to stay on. So,
50 years later, still disappointed.
Still disappointed.
Yeah, Bananas looked at me like
it's
I
even
was
though it's elite. It's elite.
Oh, man, it was not where I wanted to be. I had goals set. And I didn't meet him. I didn't meet him at all.
What's interesting is that Zeke Biggers, who ran right after Darius Alexander, he is 321 pounds, and he ran just like a couple of 10 seconds, a tenth of a second or slower than Darius Alexander. I love the combine, if you can't tell. I know people don't like, probably watch this, but I'll watch it all weekend long.
Oh, yeah,
I
love
the TV and watch it.
No doubt. It just be on. You just get fascinated with the athleticism and especially with the big guys and the speed guys, because you want to see who can break the 4.3 and under. Because that's when you're on a whole nother plane here, man. Trust being there, being part of it, it is stressful. Yeah. And I mean stressful. And some kind of you lean into it and say you give it your best, and sometimes you may press a little too much and you tighten up and you don't perform as well as you should.
Okay, so we were talking about the contract situation with Sam Darnold and how we kind of don't want to pay him top of the market money.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like there's quite the market for Sam Darnold. And so I've kind of always said that I think you can get him under $40 million. And I think you can pay maybe a couple million. You could tweak the Baker Mayfield contract where he's getting paid $33.3 million. So, like, you tweak that contract as your starting point, but you don't have to get up to 40. And I understand that there's a lot of people on here on the chat that call in over the time that people are like, well, then you'll be in quarterback purgatory and blah, blah, blah. The Kansas City Chiefs weren't in quarterback purgatory when they traded for Alex Smith, and they acquired Alex Smith in a trade. They weren't really in quarterback purgatory those years. They were just waiting around for a quarterback they fell in love with, and then they traded up and got Patrick Mahomes. That's kind of what you should want. If this team walks away from the combine, because they've done their tape study, they've gone through the scouting process, they won't get athletic testing from these quarterbacks. If they get a hint that they are not going to fall in love with these quarterbacks at the combine, you want them to find a different scenario and path. Maybe people are okay with just rolling with Will Levis, but like I said, Baker Mayfield's 3-year contract does not preclude them from drafting a quarterback if they find one that they want. The Buccaneers, they have a 1 year out, and they could get out of it. Now he has a roster bonus that kicks in, but they could get out of it if they wanted to. Obviously, they do not. They love Baker Mayfield. They're very competitive with them. Have made the playoffs, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, you got to find a way to be competitive if you're the Tennessee Titans, regardless of how it looks at the quarterback position. And I think that Sam Darnold, I don't know if Sam Darnold saves Brian Callahan's job unless he wins, but at the same time, you don't know what the future holds. And at least Sam Darnold, you know what you're getting with him.
Well, it's really interesting. Sam Darnold's a great case study to me, basically, because his whole body of work doesn't tell you he should be where he's at. But he did have a couple good years, spot playing at one place and then whole season and turning into a dynamic quarterback, which I like because I wanted the Titans to sign Sam Darnold for a 1-year deal for a case study. But now that we're where we're at, man, if they can get him for $35 million and get to trade back and pick up more picks, I think that's a dream scenario for the Titans. That means everything kind of fell in place. Now, they still have to make the picks and make the right choices and get the right players, but that is a big domino in the beginning, Sam Darnold. So it seems like it may be Matthew Stafford or Sam Darnold really is going to try to prove who's going to control this market, this quarterback market, and make it speed up and make people make moves after one of the moves is made, whatever that may be for Darnold or Matthew Stafford. So, yeah, that would be fantastic. I would say if that happened and then seeing the draft and all the rest of free agents they sign, you want to know where they'll be. And I'm interested to see also, will there be more salary cut some more cuts. We've seen trades, but to me, when you open a window for trade, to me that means if it's nothing there, you're probably going to get cut.
Yeah, maybe there's one or two quarterbacks that get cut that hit the market, and maybe they're in between Sam Darnold and Drew Lock.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Like there's someone in between there. I mean, we've rarely talked about Russell Wilson. We've rarely talked about Kirk Cousins. And some of these other quarterbacks, because I mean, really. To me, I think if people hear the money, the $35 million for Sam Darnold, and they think, well, that means that you're tied to him for 5 years. And I just want to reemphasize, if you do a 3-year contract, you're not tied to him for that long.
What did we pay Tannehill?
Tannehill it started out like a 3-year, $94 million contract or something like that. So what really, they tied themselves to it because they restructured. Mm-hmm. They had a built-in out on it. And then they ruin that out by doing restructures constantly every year. The Tennessee Titans are not in a position where they have to do that because there is a COVID year in there where the salary cap shrunk. So Jared Harrison Hunt out of SMU went sub 500. So that is insane. Jared Harrison Hunt. He's 290 pounds, so I feel like he's cheating a little bit.
That guy ran a 4.86.
4.86. Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, 276 pounds. Is that still impressive to you? 6 foot. He's almost 6'5", 276 pounds.
And he's a D-line?
He's D-line, supposedly.
Tackle or end.
Yeah. I guess he'll be put on the end, I would assume at that.
Not bad if you're an end. But if he was a D-tackle, you'd go, you're going to have to pick up some LBs.
What you got, Jackson?
So Tannehill's contract was 4 years, $118 million, with 62 of that guaranteed.
Yeah, but didn't they do?
They did a bunch of restructures.
Yeah, I thought it was only 3 years. It'll look in my head, but
they try to do what you've been saying though with Tannehill, and then they drafted Levis.
It was maybe it was a 4-year contract with a 3-year out. I think it was for Tannehill, now that I think about it. Because I think it was similarly structured like Derek Carr was his extension with the Raiders, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to recall. I was at a dog park when I was doing all my math on this back when Tannehill was getting extended back in 2019. But I look at it and I go, again, you have outs in contracts. Ooh. The reason you don't get out of contracts very well is when you start restructuring, because you had a bad Aeneas Peebles. By the way,
Virginia
people are
Tech.
Probably like, why are we talking about these
Virginia
defensive
Tech,
linemen?
4.86.
Yeah, 4.95.
4.95. 4.86.
But still, that's pretty impressive for Aeneas Peebles. And I don't disrespect Tannehill, and I don't think that was the wrong move. What happened with Tannehill was that you restructured and kept pushing money further and further down the line, which means that the out you built for yourself, you destroyed. This team does not.
Kind of what the Saints are doing.
So, like the Saints are doing. This franchise doesn't seem like that is that kind of issue. So, even if you, and I know people hear $35 million and they think that's the cap hit. That's not going to be the cap hit. Your first year cap hit on Sam Darnold on a $35 million contract would be around $8 to $10 million. The fully guaranteed money you probably pay on up front is probably 68 to 70 million in cash you probably pay that first year. I'll have to see what Baker Mayfield, but either way, it's not going to kill the Tennessee Titans and hamper the Tennessee Titans from doing anything that they want to do, because good teams don't do that, right? Even if they sign a free agent quarterback and that does not preclude them, any free agent quarterback, from necessarily taking a quarterback in this draft. Maybe they don't take one first overall.
Right.
But maybe they take a Kyle McCord or a Will Howard or some situation like that. It does not preclude them from taking a quarterback in the draft next year if they love the quarterbacks next year. And there's a long list of quarterbacks coming out next year that a lot of hype around. We'll see how that hype is lived up to. But there's a long list of quarterbacks next year.
I'm
and then
glad
in 2 years, there's a long list of quarterbacks.
But I just saw, I think the Titans have a visitor they met with your favorite quarterback. Yours.
I know they did.
Yours.
They officially. I was hoping we could get through the episode without having to bring up Quinn Sewers.
Yeah. Oh my! He went to me and the guy. Come on, man. Elijah Simmons there. He's about to run.
334 pounds from the University of Tennessee. Elijah Simmons is about to run up here.
What's your guess, guys, back there?
Okay, let's go.
I'm gonna say
5'2".
5'16".
I'm going to go 5'4'6". I'm going high.
Oh, come on.
He's 334 pounds, 6'1". He doesn't even have a long stride.
Look how he's looking right there. Oh, he about to tear this track up.
Here we go. You think he's motivated?
Uh-oh.
Here we go.
5, 3, 1.
Elijah Simmons.
Dang.
Here he goes.
Out the gate. Ooh,
10-yard
look at that
split,
explosion.
1.88.
Oh, that look heavy. That look heavy. 5-3-3. I was close.
I was close. 5.38. I was pretty close. I said 5.49. You were close.
I said
you won
3.3.
price of right rules right there, but
yeah. Oh man. I don't know. That explosion wasn't explosive.
That was not
It looked
very
like he had tight
explosive. I'm not
hamstrings
gonna
in
lie
there.
to you.
Now, the Tennessee Titans are going to meet with a lot of quarterbacks, but they did use one of their 60 formal meetings on Quinn Sewers, the quarterback of the
Your
University.
favorite quarterback in the draft.
But if
Jokes.
you look,
That's jokes, everybody. Don't be
quote unquote favorite quarterback.
just like my favorite is,
But
Locke.
when you are looking at the situation, when you look at who Chad Brinker, Mike Bergonzi's main influence is as an executive, is Ron Wolf. And remember, when they had a fifth-year quarterback in his name was Don Marjusk or something like that. The Green Bay Packers did. They went and traded a first-round pick.
Majorkowski?
Yeah, that's it.
Magic Man.
Yeah, I was close.
Yeah.
But I've heard it pronounced both ways. I didn't have it in front of me. So, but they traded a first-round pick for Brett Favre. And then they also drafted, after they traded a first-round pick for Brett Favre, that same draft, they drafted Ty Detmer in the 9th round. So they had Don Majkowski, Brett Favre, and Ty Detmer, and they acquired 2 of those in the same draft. Brett Favre, after his first year of being the starter in 1992, they drafted Mark Brunell in the 5th round. Now, that is a good trivia question. I had no clue that
that's
Mark
what I've been
Brunell...
telling you, Mark Brunell, the whole time.
Yeah.
You listened to me?
No, I never knew that he got drafted by the Packers.
Oh, yeah, he was on the roster. They traded him, as well as Brett Favre to the Falcons. All those guys,
Mark Brunell, 5th round. A couple of years later, they drafted Jay Barker, 5th round. A couple of years later, Kyle Wachholtz. 1 year later, Kyle Wachholtz in the 7th. 1 year later, Ron McAdoo in the 7th. Then they drafted, this is Brett Favre's 7th season. Going into the 7th season, they drafted Matt Hasselbeck, and then the next year, they drafted Aaron Brooks. Good teams keep drafting quarterbacks to try and develop them. Obviously, Matt Hasselbeck developed into something for Seattle Seahawks, and Mike Holmgren took him to Seattle and traded for him when he became head coach over there. Aaron Brooks became a sort of quarterback for the Saints. Remember, he threw that pass out of the end zone. But what I'm saying...
Brunell, he turned out pretty good, too.
Yeah, Brunell turned out really good. And so what I'm saying is that signing a quarterback does not preclude you from drafting a quarterback. Now, it may preclude you from drafting one of the top quarterbacks. They may not like these top quarterbacks. I hate to tell the fans, but they're not going to do what you expect, you want them. They're not going to base their decision of what you want them to do.
Right, of course. Of course not. But why do you think the Titans are bringing in yours now? Is it because of, okay, we want to get something clarified here, or he's on our docket maybe in a 3rd round if he's available, we may take him?
Yeah, so let's say they do trade back, right? So if they trade back, they obviously don't love either of the top 2 quarterbacks. Because you're not going to trade out that number 1 spot if you love one of those top 2 quarterbacks.
Unless you love getting more picks.
Yeah, unless you love getting more picks, and just so happens that maybe you have one of the quarterbacks rated 3rd on your board, and that quarterback happens to be there. Don't believe that's the case, but that is a possibility. So I look at it and I go, they're doing homework on multiple quarterbacks because they're likely going to draft a quarterback in this draft class. Maybe they double dip, maybe they just walk away with one.
Right.
And if they trade back, they're obviously looking at guys in maybe the 4th and 5th round where they have multiple picks, guys like that. And Quinn Sewers is one of those guys. I will never not call him that.
It's pronounced
go to break
Ewers.
on that.
No, it is Sewers.
Oh my God!
Because he
just
stinky.
changed his name.
Yeah, it's a play on words. When we come back, we'll talk about Travis Hunter because I think that Travis Hunter said some stuff today that I thought was really interesting and some stuff that really just, when you go back and watch the film and then you hear what he says, you're just like, Travis Hunter is the best player in this draft. Let's not dance around it. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
For many of you who have lived here a long time, you already know Eurofix has been in Middle Tennessee area for your European car repair needs now for 26 years. We've all gotten to watch them grow. And I don't know about you, but I love watching a hometown business take off. Well, we're now proud to announce the 5th location in Mount Juliet for Eurofix on Mount Juliet Road, right across the street from Dairy Queen. And Eurofix can serve you in Franklin, Hunted Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. Pretty cool getting to watch a small-town mechanic starting in the barn of his backyard of a single-wide trailer and now grow to 5 locations repairing thousands of cars each month. And at Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can visit them online at myeurofix.com. That's myeurofix.com. Always done, Blaze,
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the conversation if you want to join in. We got Steve Lamb and F&M Bank chat on Zone TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. He is saying that Quinn Ewers reminds him of Troy Aikman. They're the same exact quarterback prospect. Remind you.
But why did he say that?
He says that the film is just exactly the same. The Troy Aikman's film
from Oklahoma and UCLA
back in 1989 is the same as Quinn Ewers in 2024. That's not necessarily a good thing, in my opinion, because the Troy Aikman saying that a football player in 2024 plays like a quarterback in 1989 is not good, in my opinion. Right? Am I crazy?
Well, it depends on your viewpoint.
Yeah.
You're stating just because it was 1989 that the athletes today are just so
well, it's a different style of quarterback is needed.
Well, wait, Oklahoma didn't he do a little bit of option and stuff?
Yeah, but
then when he went to UCLA, then it became a drop back pass.
And then when he went to the Cowboys, he needed everybody else around him to get him to the Super Bowl.
Why are you trying to demean Troy Aikman, man? He had a good offensive line, so they didn't miss Smith. They had some good receivers and playmakers.
I guess if you want to talk about quarterbacks being carried by their team, then yes, Quinn Ewers' tape looks exactly like Troy Aikman because Quinn Ewers got carried by his team as well.
What is it that you don't like about Ewers?
I hate his footwork. It is so messy and sloppy.
But wasn't he playing injured with a bad ankle or foot most of the season?
Well, you're going to have to specify which season because that's every season he's getting injured. So that's my other concern is that he's always
don't like
injured.
His footwork in general. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, like he's always injured. He has terrible footwork. And I don't think he's that accurate either. I think your receivers got to get wide open for him to actually make really good throws. I just don't like anything I've seen on Quinn Ewers on tape. Now
I do like his quick release. He's got a quick release. I get you on the footwork. I am with you on there because sometimes it looks like he's not even set up and he's like trying to flick his wrist and get rid of the ball. But he gets rid of the ball quick, which is something similar to kind of what the Titans offense and their head coach kind of have mentioned before.
Well, that's why.
And now he's visiting the Titans.
I think the NFL views him as this is a guy that maybe we can develop. Because he does have some high-end athleticism. They're talking that he may run like a sub 4.5.
What?
Play. Yeah.
I don't see that.
I would be.
I don't see that.
A website that does something called expected 40-yard times.
Really?
Put that in there and put that out there today. I would be very surprised.
Do you see that when he plays? Like I don't see him running around.
Sneaky athletic.
No, I get that.
I mean,
4.5 is on a whole nother level.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't see that.
I do think because I see Arch Manning doing that.
Yeah,
I see that.
But because I do think that he has a little bit of athleticism. And he does have experience. I think that teams will think, okay, we're not going to start him right away. He's not going to be a first-round pick. He's not going to be a second-round pick. Probably a fourth-round pick. But that's a guy that maybe you take a chance on with traits and say, okay, you're going to get in football shape. We're going to get you healthy. Hopefully we'll never have to play you this year. But maybe we turn you into something in the background and you become maybe, a starter.
So are you saying this about your Kyle McCord as well?
I think Kyle McCord is way better than Quinn Ewers.
Okay, that's what I wanted you to do. I was going there next to compare them, the two, and what's different about each of them as players.
Yeah. I think Kyle McCord, and listen, you know me, I love Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah. No,
I think he's highly accurate. We're talking about mid-round guys. Yeah, he's highly accurate, has all this anticipation, has everything you want. I think that Kyle McCord is the best anticipation thrower in this draft. Now he's also the most aggressive, and that gets you into binds because he's got a high turnover rate but a high big time throw rate. So you got to take hand in hand. But he never really hurts the team with those situations. There may be one or two instances on tape, but what I love about Kyle McCord is that his aggressiveness is because he trusts what he's seen. Will Levis's aggressiveness is never because he trusts what he's seen. Like his turnovers are not because he trusts what he's seen. Kyle McCord, pre-snap, reads the defense, post-snap, reads the defense. Sometimes he reads it wrong, but he's at least going to be decisive and get the ball out quick. And
so you said Levis doesn't read correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, he does.
So he can't read.
He's defensive illiterate.
He just has the tools, but the tools is like, why did you throw there? You weren't supposed to throw there based on what they were doing.
Right. Kyle McCord has one of the faster times to throw in the draft.
Yeah, he's very decisive. You watch him. It made me think, like, why did Ohio State let him walk?
That's the thing that I think teams are going to have to figure out about Kyle McCord is, like, what happened? Because
he did well, but then all of a sudden he went
jump from Ohio State to Syracuse and the jump in production? Because you would think that if you go to Syracuse with a worse supporting cast, the production would stay the same or go down. But it jumped up big.
Well, maybe he's trying to show that Ohio State was wrong for benching him.
Maybe that. Maybe there's a little bit of his offseason regimen may have changed, and maybe he did stuff. But I really like what Kyle McCord. Again, I'm not saying that the Tennessee Titans should, if they love Shedeur, should say, no, we're not drafting Shedeur. Let's draft Kyle McCord in the 5th. But I do think that if they don't love the quarterbacks, they don't need to draft those top 2 quarterbacks. But if they like Kyle McCord and he's there in the 4th or 5th round, I'm okay with drafting him.
Okay. Yeah,
doesn't mean I expect them to be starters or all-stars or anything like that. But that's why you develop them, right? I mean, that's why, teams draft quarterbacks in those situations in hopes that they turn into something. It's a lottery ticket. So
I'm definitely doing that if I trade back and I give me a veteran quarterback on the roster. Yeah, I could afford to do that.
Yeah. I'm with you. Like, I look at Kyle McCord and I think, like, to me, he's the perfect day 3 quarterback to take a chance on. I hope he stays in day 3 because right now the Tennessee Titans obviously do not have only have one day 2 pick. I could be talked into maybe drafting Kyle McCord 3rd round, but I don't think I'm there yet. Like, no. I don't really think, like, I would understand.
It depends on how the board is going. Yeah, you got to remember, if it starts being some quarterbacks you start going, and then we better get our guy. Now is the time of the season, and you have a 3rd round pick.
Yeah, I agree with Ricky, and that's kind of what we were talking about too. He goes in the YouTube chat, McCord's aggressiveness is because he's high IQ.
Yep.
And I think we both fully agree on that.
Mm-hmm. I like he's decisive.
Because what we've liked about Shedeur Sanders, everything that Kyle McCord has. Mm-hmm. Like, right? So, you're everything that we like from the standpoint of he stands in the pocket, his toughness, his ability to read a defense, his processing, all his ability to go through reads. You see all that on tape.
You do.
And you see all that tape with Shedeur Sanders. So that's the quarterbacks I think that we both kind of lean towards.
So you like Shedeur over Kyle McCord? You do?
Yeah, right? I do.
But what's the one caveat? Why do you?
I love his leadership, his experience, his toughness. Like, I think Kyle McCord has everything that Shedeur Sanders has. It's just at a lower tier. So, like, I think the only thing that I would say that Kyle McCord is better at than him is that I would say that he's a little bit more aggressive in the middle of the field, but I would also say his anticipation is just a little bit better than Shedeur. Just a little bit.
Right.
Just a little bit.
But we all know little bit in the NFL means a whole lot.
Yeah, it sure does.
I like Kyle McCord.
All right, tomorrow we're going to talk about Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, and that. We'll also have Stoney Keeley from Football and Other F Words on with us at 1:20. Talk about the draft and all that kind of stuff. We'll keep you updated on everything going at the Combine. 3HL's up next. This has been Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons. And in the meantime.
And in between time.
Peace.
McCord.